Hey, what's up, everybody? Dan Tom here, the Protect Your Neck podcast, host of the show. We break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's for the fight. Recording this at my usual time, Thursday night. A little late, but I'll try to make it short and sweet. Got some things done in that little time to hopefully make up for it here. Oh, I just got to drink some water. My voice is hoarse, man. Hopefully I'm not going through like a Cheaty Ninja Kawani thing where my voice is changing. But I did like a hot yoga class last Wednesday. Lost closer to 7 pounds, my 5 to 7 pound average of the hour and 15-minute hot room exercise. And of course, I didn't drink a lot of water. And my OCD ass went to shower after I ate, not drinking enough water, right? And I'm like, let me cut this. And then I'm like, let me just, next thing you know, I'm giving myself a haircut, which, this was a quick one for me. It only took 3 to 4 hours. And then after that, I'm not feeling so good. I don't think I drank enough water. And as I start speaking, I'm like, my voice sounds weird, right? Uh-oh. I don't know. It could be long-time listeners. Actually, remember, I like back in 2019, I'll push forward, folks. Everyone's piling into the chat. What's up, everybody? I experienced some of this if you go listen to like some old 2019 recordings, and it could also be like a kind of like a GERD, kind of like I check all those classic boxes. I've been good about alcohol, but I've had some alcohol lately. Check. Some smoking, no check. Do you talk for a living? Right? Check. High acidity, again, been off the diet, bad about the thing. Check, right? So hopefully it's just that, or I don't know what's this. Well, maybe it's this long COVID. Not to spark anybody off or anything like that. But no, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I don't think so. I've had my tests there. How many symptoms? Knock on wood. Not trying to make fun of that, but being serious, right? Like, who knows, right? Like, who knows, man? But apologies for my voice. So because of it, I'm gonna try to push through. And hopefully I don't have to go to even more doctors, as I had to go to more this week and stuff. We're trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together. Dan Tom's falling apart on all areas, not just picks and plays, which what brings us here today, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, when we're breaking down UFC Vegas 97, UFC Fight Night 242, UFC Fight Night. Who the fuck? Oh, Gilbert Burns, oh my gosh, of course. Shout out to my guy AB, Aaron Bronstetter. I can't do my classic. Let's see if I can muster it up, folks. My voice is dying like the DUUHINNNYOO impression itself. Gilbert Burns versus, of course, Sean Brady. Philly. Yes, right, for Philly. Of course, I got love for Philly, Brady, and that team, which is interesting because, page note, we'll get to that breakdown here in a couple seconds. That was some interesting stuff. Not really interesting. It's drama, normal drama. I don't really care, but hey. Phantom Punch breakdowns. Hi, Dan. What's up, Ghost Phantom, my man? Good to see you. Hoping to hear from you. Maybe you guys will hear from Ghost Phantom if you've not already heard him on fine programs such as the Cagecraft podcast. Shout out to Val and the boys over there. Well, Dan, why are you speaking like you and McGregor from Train Spotting? But yeah, probably going to have my guy Ghost Phantom on the show. Not many people that, I mean, there's probably a lot of people, to be honest, that would love to come on the show. But in Dan Tom's fucked up head, I'm like, not many people probably, I want to bother, probably want to be bothered by me, so. But when I get out of that, I actually book guests. It's great. I got a guest coming to you guys next week. So Jimmy Kudo, let's go. Jimmy Kudo got this notification just now. Yeah, I got it up late as per usual. Again, I'll save you guys the excuses, but I've been busy, as you can hear, see, probably just tell by my aura at this point. I mean, to be honest, it's not a surprise. Dan Tom's been give you some, James Kendrick, hopefully the week off gave you some energy and refreshed you. I would like to think it did, but pretty much I just slept because I don't know if it's fatigue. Again, like, am I dealing with some kind of like, long COVID? Is the voice going? Is that what it is? Or is it just like, burnout, right? Or is it, Major depressive disorder, which can do that to you. You know, there's a lot of reasons. Fucked up sleep schedule. Like, again, I check off all these boxes. So I just spent it mostly sleeping, to be honest. I was really grateful, though. I was very happy and content to not be working. So trying to find that happiness. Definitely have gratitude, believe it or not, folks. So I just tried to do that. I hope yours was good, James, and the rest of you guys. The UFC free weeks. All right. Oof, I had my smoothie. I had like a nice healthy meal, lunch, and I guess it's getting dinner time because I had like a swig of water. I'm like, oh, too cold, too fast. Apologies. But yeah, I'm just kind of falling apart. But again, I was like, I'm not asking for sympathy or anything like that. It's just kind of what it is. Like, I was going to say, like, it'd be weird if it wasn't. Like, if I came on and I'm like, I'm on time, guys. I didn't rush today. Things are great. Like, something be off. Like, what the fuck? Who abducted Dan Tom? What's going on? Not that I'm not working toward that. I am working toward the positive, folks. I'm believe me, I feel like I've hit bottom a bunch of times, but this last week, again, despite like getting rest and like trying to stay out of trouble and this and that, like I really feel like I'm like, you know what? I think I finally hit bottom. And I know some of these things like judges and all these things we're going to talk about and fight results, these are all out of our hands, my hands and your hands, folks. But yeah, I think you know, when you do finally hit bottom and you stop self-sabotaging, you're ready to go up in life. There's nowhere to go but up, right? So I say that to spin the positive, which I do try to do here, believe it or not, on this program, and trying to do that now, man, because I think yeah, let's go. I mean, we'll see. Not much to be positive about this weekend. Fights keep falling off. It's another Apex show. I feel like wasn't this last card supposed to be the last Apex show? Is this the last Apex? I don't even know. But yeah, man, we got No Che around the corner. I'm not going or anything. I'll probably be there, not in spirit, but like in Dana White's whatever dunk video. Everybody's like, "What's it gonna be like? What's the No Che gonna be like?" I'm like, the only thing I can guarantee is that Dana White will have a dunking on the media video. I think that is like, I think we could line that like genuinely at minus 750. But yeah, hopefully you guys appreciate as I try to splice in analysis, gambling analysis, comedy, my weird ass personality, all into this show. I feel like I've just been getting too much known, which I guess is my fault for going on this epic losing streak and making fun of it whilst also being account of it. Perhaps doesn't help. But I'm like just known as the gambling guy now. Even like shout out to my guy Fenyo in the Early Prelims podcast. Excellent podcast this week as per usual. But as I think he was giving me a shout out whenever I hear my name on other people's podcasts, I go. That's why I'm always like weird to be like, you know, in people's chats. Like I was in the Chronic Combat Conversations guys chat earlier for their show. I think they had the Wheezy in there, so a bunch of good dudes in there. And I just wanted to, you know, do my support and remind the chat to hit the like. But that usually gets my name invoked, which I'm weird about. And I don't know. I've always been weird about that. Like even like I remember like having one of my best birthdays. You know, like I complain about like having most of my birthdays alone. I remember I had this one awesome birthday as a kid. I had all my Taekwondo buddies. Like my parents actually looked like this is like one of the years where they were together and seemed semi-functional. It was great. We rented a room in a bowling alley and had my friends there. And everyone was singing happy birthday. I was like, this feels fucking. I was only like, it was like 93. I was like 8 years old. I'm like, this feels fucking weird. Birthdays? Why is everybody looking at me and singing at me? Like, so I'm weird when it comes to anything like that, folks. But yeah, I was like, don't mention my name. And I think not don't mention my name, but I always go like, I cringe. And my guy Fenyo was shouting me in our post fight show, which will be back this Saturday. And he was saying, Dan Don does a lot of gambling stuff. I'm like, God damn it, that's what I'm known for these days, aren't I? Because, you know, having that conversation where I guess I turn a lot of the analysts off because I'm in it, because I talk too much gambling, right? But I don't clearly fit into the MMA gambling Twitter because I'm weird, old, and a bunch of other things. So I was like, God damn it, I can't like escape these fucking tropes. But shout out to you guys who, because most of you guys in here don't even really gamble that are in the chat, which is hilarious. That's the funny thing about it. Like, you guys appreciate the analysis regardless of like I'm attaching a betting line to a talking point or something. And I don't know why you do, but I appreciate you guys, and you guys remind me of, stick to what you offer or try to offer, even if it is a laugh. Shout out to my guy Isaac Spooner over there on the Twitter sphere. Breakdowns always on point. I appreciate you. Rio says in Truesdale. James Kendrick, the emoji ever get ghost. The fire emoji if you ever get ghost in the show. He'll be on next week. Spoiler alert. Rain Lamont in the house. If Dana dunks on you, that means that he has people watching your podcast. I wouldn't be flattered by that because my numbers aren't great, and his numbers of whoever spies don't put any really pennies in my pocket. So definitely not worth it. Not the attention I'm looking for. And I do get people from the UFC looking at me already, so I don't. Who I do like and stuff, like production people and whatnot. So yeah, you know me, I'm just trying to be honest whilst not pissing people off, which, to my previous points, which I'm not going to soapbox on, we're going to get to the breakdown here, folks. I have a hard time not doing. Honesty does not make very many friends, and I, for many reasons, am not, what do you call, a wide-ranging flavor, to put politely. And that's totally cool. I don't expect to be nor want to be, but that's what it is, right? So it's all good, folks. It's all good if I end up on the dunking video. It'll be the most attention I probably get, sadly. Synchro Wing analysis is my favorite content. Appreciate you guys. Well, let's get to that analysis, huh? We got Gilbert Burns plus 154, Sean Brady minus 185, depending where you look. Just going off of odds at a house that doesn't pay me, so I won't say them. So I am more in line of, I probably would have opened it minus probably 135, minus 145 Burns, but closer to a pick'em. The odds makers opened it as a pick'em minus 110 a piece, so that's pretty much saying, public, tell me who you think should be favored. Which seems like a cop-out, but if it was, then we would, in a literal sense, we would see them do that more, but you can't, You want to have some control of the markets, and obviously some fights are much easier, even in MMA as volatile as it is, I dare say, much easier to project as far as who should be favored to win and who shouldn't, in simple parlance, right? So they opened it as a pick'em, and of course, public money, I don't know, Gilbert Burns, this isn't a title fight. It is welterweight. So I don't know how strong the 35 rule is, but man, you're 33. I guess you're considered old by most MMA gamblers. So, DUUHINNNYOO over here at 38 years old. Not a surprise to see people fading him or him with the plus money next to his name. You think maybe the small octagon would favor Brady in the sense of his style because we associate Brady with the gorilla strength and all the, which is, I believe, true, and I actually like Brady and his style. He actually is very much combines both Khabib style from his riding and work against the fence to some of the Makhachev meta, especially with the Kimura options that he keeps for when he's playing on top side and pressure, and he stays patient and methodical, right? He's like, he's it's like Morgan Freeman from Seven. Like, he's big, he's tattooed, he's heavy, and worst of all, he's from Philly. No, he's patient. Sorry. And I always said, Dan, that's a different movie. Sorry. But yeah, he's very patient and methodical. Brady is, right. That being said, as he faced the guy level as DUUHINNNYOO, right? He hasn't competed or has won as many accoladed competitions out of the gi, or probably in the gi, I'm guessing as well. Even though Brady seems like he mainly competes out of the gi, his more famed names were what's going to show on his records and searches and UFC supported grappling tournaments, right? Ben Saunders is a black belt, older guy, still impressive. No shade to Killer B, but I don't know how relevant or how much you weight that. And then people point to the Craig Jones. One has a loss, one has a win. Gilbert lost via heel hook. I believe it was submission underground. So it was, where heel hooks were allowed, whereas heel hooks weren't allowed It was, and I didn't even see Jones really even go for leg locks to even change position. He didn't really get cheeky with it either. He played really kind of, I'd argue, overly respectful in what was already a muted rule set. And, I wouldn't say he was exactly, shobbing like Shob Cyborg, old school reference there for Polaris. But it was one of those kind of MMA guy shobbing performances in a sense. Like he just played positional points and, got the decision in a very lackluster decision. So I really wouldn't incorporate those too much. And you don't have strikes in any of those rule sets or any of those matches that I referenced. So for me, it's more Cam Brady blanket, right? And back to what I was saying is we associate Brady with that gorilla strength against the cage. But the thing is, I never really got to do a full profile on Brady until this fight. So forgive me if this seems obvious, that I should have picked up on it sooner, because you're right, it is obvious, and perhaps I should have noted it sooner. Maybe I did in older breakdowns. Like I don't, which might save me some time. I don't like just do refreshers and like queue up where exactly I was, which I should with these timestamps now. Thank you, Jack Slack. Timestamps. You know who you are. But yeah, I didn't realize Brady fights a lot off the back foot. I wrote back foot Brady in my notes, and I'm like, damn it, another guy whose his strength is clear. He knows his strength. We know his strength. Everyone knows his strength, but their striking game is getting stuck on the back foot, and that is, frustrating. And I go and I'm like, wait, let's just watch all the way. And even up until the Kelvin Gastelum fight, where he's actually like pressuring more, you see him go, you still see him revert to like this back foot game. And even people who know him kind of give this away. Like I think early Paul Felder commentaries, like Brady really likes to counter. And you see that with both his striking and his takedowns. A lot of his takedowns are kind of given to him, right? Like, his shots aren't that great. That's another thing, is he doesn't feint a ton, and he doesn't even feint, much less put punches in front of his shots. And that was something I noticed from his very first UFC fight. And I said, okay, wait, Dan, because I went and I ran through his whole catalog, right? As I tend to do for the full profiles, especially the first time around making it, right? And I'm like, yeah, he just fucking dives for him. They're not really that great. Now, a la to Khabib, he didn't really need the great shot. He just needs to push you against the fence to be effective, hence the small cage being good for him in that sense. But it's almost like he knows those aren't that great, and he doesn't go to them that much. Even in fights where like you think he should, you're like, okay, maybe I get why you're not actively trying to, take down Bilal because you're respecting his wrestling, but. And I know Bilal's champion and that aged well. I'm a Bilal fan, not trying to, denigrate his game or anything. But, like, I don't think it's crazy to say that Chiesa is a more dangerous submission grappler than Bilal Muhammad, right? At welterweight and whatnot. And even though he was reluctant and uncomfortable, which is part of the dynamic of why I'm leaning toward Burns and picking him here, spoiler alert, in matchups like that, where whether he could take the guy down or ended up taking him down anyways because he felt kind of forced to, it was the action kind of, came to him in that way, as Chiesa does. And so Brady was able to get the better of it, right? As the better wrestler, stronger guy, stronger grappler, so on and so forth. He was still very, you still sense that uncomfortability, right? And even though he's a complete workhorse by all accounts, he's not a freak athlete like a Yoel Romero. He's not doing crazy athletic things. He's just like more like freakishly strong, in that sense. But he does seem like a decently conditioned guy, and to go with that strength and that work that he puts in, right? And you see a lot of third-round finishes. However, the fights whether it's the wrestling of Muhammad or that submission grappling, having a not congruent, commensurate, person in the submission grappling realm to go with, to kind of not necessarily nullify his strength. I mean, he was able to get dominant positions and win on Chiesa, but you see him uncomfortable in the third round. He gets a little more tired in those fights, right? He was looking visibly uncomfortable and tired from the end of the first frame and getting finished in the second with Bilal. And yeah, so you kind of see that dynamic at play. Excuse me. Dude, I hate. That's one thing I hate about going to like the public places and like medical offices, whether it's vets or people doctor. Excuse me. That water's going down the wrong pipe. Teary-eyed. Again, not to like be not political, but like it makes me want to bring back masks where I'm like public bathrooms that smell, airplanes that smell, and then like medical waiting rooms. I don't like wearing masks, obviously, but like in those situations, fucking bring the masks back, mandatory. Oh god, fucking people come in just fucking hack it. I always have the luck where like I have the person come up right next to you and like when there's no sense of personal space, they just start hacking away, and you're like, well, if I wasn't sick coming in here, I certainly am now. Sorry, but yeah, sorry, Burns, Brady, yeah, that makes him uncomfortable. So I think that dynamic could work against him, again, considering he's more of a back foot guy. And Burns actually has decent counter wrestling. It's kind of one of the things I've written about in my breakdowns on him, is that's what's kind of quietly improved, whether it's through the, Greg Jones, wrestling coach. He used to work with my catch wrestling coach, Neil Melanson, for a bit. And again, Durinho has just been really active with the grappling and whatnot. He's beaten big middleweights like Rafael Lovato Jr., who also are MMA savvy, no gi savvy, right? Like that, those are big wins. So he is the more accoladed, and I dare say, should have an on-paper edge. I'm sure Brady works with leg lock guys, obviously, but and I'm sure that most of his grappling in that realm and most of his grappling, like most fighters at a certain point, it's not so much your coach, especially with grappling. It's more like the new wave and who you're training with, than like one specific coach, unless that coach is like, obviously there's like the Marcelo Garcias and stuff of the world, right? I'm just saying like your general MMA-centric sphere of the grappling arm coach that you generally see, right? And his was a notable name for what it's worth. It was a Gracie name, right? Daniel Gracie, a part of the Renzo Gracie family. Renzo Gracie Philly is what he represents. Though most of his training is along with Pfeiffer and a lot of those Philly guys. They've really been operating mainly out of Marquez MMA. John Marquez, I believe, John is his first name, but Marquez MMA. And apparently Daniel Gracie opened a school out here in Vegas. And is it open? Is it closed? And Petrovski? Yeah, so it was I don't know if it's Petrovski or Brady, but like, or both guys, because they both work in that area, that camp. We're like, yeah, no one knows where Daniel Gracie is. Like, the school closed down, but the list is open. Just classic as somebody who has had, coaches disappear for one reason or many. Like, I can very easily read between the lines, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know how crucial he was to Brady's success, much less at this point of his career. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's anything major, like Rose is going in there with Predator Pat, not Whitman. Like, I don't think it's going to be like at that level of effect, but it is worth noting. Burns, he is coming off, we'll talk about people coming off dangerously close, but he is coming off of the fight with Jack Della. But again, Sean Brady's not like a known knockout puncher. His best shot is his left hook and to kind of around the corner, because I'm probably gonna end up a big, like I usually do in the main event. I go long and fucking wordy, folks. Sorry to my voice. When was that Jack Della fight? Yeah, just at the borderline 6-month mark, beginning of March or beginning of September. So left hook is the best shot, not really knockout power, but as people have been privy to it, he overthrows something. Actually, Anik pointed out. Shots to Anik. I wrote in my notes. Anik picks this up early on, like Sean Brady's first or second fight. Is that when he overthrows or misses the left hook, opponents have been successfully countering it, and that's again shots to the man JA in like Brady's first or second fight. That trend continues all the way up to his most relevant fights when I ran them through the comb, folks. And who has a really effective counter right hand in victory or defeat, even landing really clean that I totally forgot on Jack Della Maddalena in round 2. I think I fucked up. It's probably when I was talking to Fenyo, where I was like, oh yeah, I picked Jack Della Maddalena and that was his best round. Apologies, folks, if you pulled your hair out. I misspoke, and I'm just remembering that now. Because when I went to rewatch it and refresh myself, it was Gilbert Burns who had a deceptively good round 2. And he hit counter elbows, counter right hands. And he hit multiple counter right hands in a fight that was deceptively close too against Khamzat Chimaev, and dropping him at one of those times, right? Remember that? That was the counter right hand. So yeah, like that's the common culprit for Sean Brady, and I just see that all day. I see it all day. I think Gilbert Burns sees it too. I think Gilbert Burns can go leg locks and scrambles because he's got good scrambling. Even, you know, as we saw with the Damian Maia fight, and I know Damian Maia is much older than Brady, but again, you want to talk about effective processes against the cage, you know, at welterweight, you know, look no further than Damian as well. But yeah, man, Gilbert's a third degree black belt, you know. So when I say there's levels, I'm not even just, there's the literal sense, like the degrees and the belts and stuff, if you want to count that, the on paper, right, which you check boxes, all those. But there's levels, and I'm not saying he's going to take him to school, but if anybody were to submit anybody, and you put a gun in my head, even at my terrible streak and my confidence being as low as it is, folks, I'm saying, don't shoot me. But I'm saying Burns, right? DUUHINNNYOO. So I got it when it tipped at plus 165. That was high enough for me. I didn't think it was going to get much higher. I'm not a big CLV guy, but win or lose, which it's mainly just lose or lose for me. You know, there's no CLV trophy, but for as much as I make fun of it, I actually seem to do pretty good at grabbing it. We'll see. Maybe a bunch of late money, even more comes in on Brady, but I don't know how you can be too confident on either side, but you're going to give me the plus money. I'm never afraid to fade the public, right? As we've seen many times, for as much as I lose, a lot of times I win is fading the public, right? Shout out to my guy GM3. Shout out to my guy Liam Picks Fights, who's always really good with the submission calls. But he posted some stat. Some stat like of like best bet fighters or whatever. Kyle Bahia was one, which I think is very contextual because he's like Contender Series, so you know he's hype, but he's also, as we've seen from Fighting Nerds, okay, they're actually good. And you look at his matchups, even when he's underperformed, whether he was favored or an underdog, and he was favored to win most times. So again, he's, you know, no matter what the favorites are, people are piling onto those trains. So if someone's going to keep winning, again, they're going to be on the top of those kind of stats. So not so surprising. Whoever is there, to be honest, because of that context, is surprising and more interesting, in my opinion, is the worst bet fighter, UFC fighter, that MMA gambling Twitter can't seem to get a handle on, which is GM3, who I mentioned at the top. And that's a guy, so if you bet on him every fight, you're really positive. So even if you've lost on him, as I have, I can at least take some solace that GM3's done me a lot of good. He really has made me a lot of money, man. I owe that guy a beer and way, way more. A real nice dude. Just gave his fucking purse to his coaches. I mean, again, these are the people that need, the degenerates, the good, the salt of the earth folk. These are the people that need to win, folks. These are the people that need to get the bonuses for their wins. And their disrespect. Back to the MMA gambling Twitter, you know, being really bad with the GM3s of the world, right? So yeah, sorry folks. I'm fucking ranting with that, but I'm guessing I was gonna tie it back into this fight with Brady and Burns, where Burns not a GM3, but he is entering that GM3 world where, you know, some guys like, you know, Harry Dean Stanton, wow, Dan, real timely reference, like were born like at 50 years old, right? Like GM3 was born like slow in the old, you know, Soggy Dick special. Dan department, old dude department, even when he was like in his 20s, right? He was still moving at that pace, right? Whereas Burns is now finally entering that at 38, even though he's an athlete. So I get people fading him, but again, those, even as bad as I'm doing, I guess the point I was trying to make, those are my value spots, and those spots I take a lot of pride in, and I'm happy to see guys like GM3 defying the odds as well there. So yeah, give me Burns 1 unit plus 165. I also like him by KO, which is going to be my prop squad pick. Of course, I can only get him at plus 400, not the plus 450 that are out there. So I may put like a half unit straight, or I just might cop out and throw it in the round robin. And technically, I'm on it at that point. So I can ease my old little conscience because that matters so much, right? Clearly. But yeah, either way, whether I play it straight or not, Burns by KO will probably be in the round robin. But yeah, give me DUUHINNNYOO. We're going dog hunting. All right, next fight, we got the co-main event between Jessica Andrade, another old dog. I guess like my meme, Dan Tom with the old Brazilian dogs there. Plus 260. Oh my goodness, give me that line. Andrade-Silva minus 325. This is way too wide. So I'm not even hating Andrade-Silva as a favorite, especially at minus 148 where she opened. But to bet her over double that, I mean, the disrespect. But again, you shouldn't be surprised. You got the hot girl. She's not just hot, but she throws the flashy, spinny shit, which again, you could look like fucking Shara Bullet, and MMA gamblers cum their fucking pants if you fucking spin, competently. Oh. And you got, not to be negative to Andrade or anything, but you got the soggy dick special on the other side is, and the older fighter, right? Which again, MMA gamblers can't wait to fade an older fighter, Oh, and then you got like someone, with like any kind of personal adversity instead of going like, I know you have no room to feel bad. That's not what we're doing when you're gambling. I get that. But, again, God forbid being a human for a second. God forbid, or being just smart and not, like, overdoing any kind of rumor, drama bullshit, and you look at the actual evidence. Hold on that. But, yeah, you hear any kind of turmoil. People are like, yeah, someone's down. Where do I kick them? Where do I kick them while they're down? Where do I put my money? Oh. So you have all the things that MMA gamblers, I know I'm making them sound like piece of shit human beings. They're not all that way, folks. But let's be honest. Those are the fucking trends. We got to be honest with ourselves, folks. I'm no fucking angel here, too. I am guilty, too. I'm just the one being fucking honest here. And again, that's not going to make me very many friends. But if it can make a couple of you laugh because it's fucking true, I'm fine with it. But yeah, no surprise to see money pouring into Andrade-Silva. And you know what, folks? Through the midway, of course, my bias is going to lean toward Andrade. But through a bulk of my tape, because the bulk of my tape was obviously, I know me some Jessica Andrade. Not just because I broke her down a billion times. She's fought a billion times. But Dan Tom's been right on her, right? Like, I think I stayed away. I picked her reluctantly, and then we had a split decision fight, right? I picked her to do the comeback against Mackenzie, and we got that right. She fought Tatiana Suarez before that. You know me, I love the Andrade underdog money, but what did I do? I picked Suarez round 2 sub. What was it? Suarez round 2 sub. I still lost on that night, don't get me wrong. Analysis, schmalisis, right? But the point is, I know me some Andrade. Of course, I got the Yan Jianan and Blanchfield fights. Those were some weird fights. I think you can, even with hindsight and giving both Yan and Blanchfield their proper due, I still say you can fairly say, of course, within reason, those were some weird fights. But yeah, I generally been spot the fuck on with Andrade. And I'm like, well, at least I've been spot on with her picking against her too, because I'm going through it and I'm like, this shot selection, these head kicks, right? How quick they are. This is perfect for the oversteps off of the pivots and the overstated kind of Henry Armstrong like head movement and slipping nature that I often point to with my it's always a good excuse to repost the Henry Armstrong and Andrade flow with I got the Sisters of Mercy edit in the background. I got to have the layers there of fucking hipster shit that nobody gives a fuck about but me. And it's a great excuse, which I haven't reposted yet, but the Kimura Chud Hoses Holsis, is somebody, I think it was Natalia Silva referred to Rose Namajunas. That slam on her head, that's getting a repost any Jessica Andrade fight week. Or Chad Ho's fight week for that matter. But yeah, so I'm like, oh, we could get a head kick knockout here. And then I'm seeing the counter punching, the right hand, left hook of Natalia Silva. She's able to hit those, and I'm like, oh my God. And then the layers, she even has, Natalia Silva, she has, and she's really sharp about it, man. And she'll go back fists, but she mainly does straight shots, which are more effective, obviously. But that counterbalancing, right, where you do the kick, like you do whether you're, let's say you're standard orthodox, you're doing a power kick from your rear side, kick, whether it's to the body or to the head, you counterbalance. So it hits to the body, hits to the head, whether they blocked it, whether you hit your target or not, you're almost expecting them to come back and counter. And either way, you're kind of vulnerable right there, right? You're on one leg for a moment, so maybe you want to get something out to fill the space. So even guys like, it's a traditional martial arts thing, but even guys with no TMA/martial arts background, like the late great Elias Theodorou was good at this. So you kick, and as your foot's coming back, you counterbalance by shooting out your hand at the target that the kick is retracting back from. So you've got opposing motions which act as your counterbalance, hence counterbalancing punch. Natalia Silva does these so beautifully, catches people by surprise. It was like it fucked up Andrea Lee early. And Andrea Lee always gets hurt, and like if she's doesn't get hurt, she always looks hurt, so it almost doesn't matter, sadly. But she gets really off put and fucked up by something early, those counters. And Tony Kelly, he's trying not to call her a dirty Brazilian, but he's like, get in that ass. And he was saying, you gotta counter those kicks. And I'm like, Tony, is like you saying it in round 3? I'm like, but from round 1 on, it was like every round she's been getting. You got to have an answer for the counterbalance. If you want her to counter, have her counter with a takedown or something where she changes her level after the kick, so she's going under the punch, because all the counterbalancing punches are going up to the head. Andrea Lee has got the brown belt in jiu-jitsu, black belt in judo, or vice versa, right? She has the on-paper edge to, at that time, a blue, maybe a purple belt, where she is now, Natalia Silva, in jiu-jitsu, not trying to critique and pile on old Tony Kelly there, but that was just something that I really like about Natalia Silva's game, and that's going to be super live. So whether it's the back foot, because she does fight on the back foot, although she's really good about moving lateral, even in the small cage. Again, this still favors Andrade the territory, but again, to Natalia Silva credit, she could totally do it and has done it before, right? But she hasn't faced a consistent offensive threats, Maybe Andrea Lee on a good night. Again, that was not a good night. It was a terrible night for Andrea Lee, who got hurt early, so she also had an excuse for said terrible night. Vivi Araujo, of course, on my no bet list, just fucking, how many fucking red is on her column at this point? God, the gas baggery and fuckery. I don't even want to bet her fights, right? Because the one time I bet against her, all of a sudden she shows up against fucking Jennifer Maia, right? Like, Jesus, that was just someone showing a perfect example of like the person you bet against showing up at the very best, and the person you bet on showing up at the very worst, and it's just at the perfect timing, of course, which, timing, of course, is my thing. We all know that. But yeah, Araujo, on our best days, shows not to be consistent, right, with offense, especially in that third round. So, Natalia Silva doesn't look like she will fade like the Araujo athletes. She holds strong. And I'm not going to do the MMA math that, Andrade just beat Rodriguez, and Rodriguez was Natalia Silva's last defeat, because that defeat was forever ago when Natalia Silva was like a complete different fighter if you watch the tape. And as much as I love me some Marina Rodriguez, I'd probably safe to say that the harder puncher, especially at this point in their careers at 125, is going to be Natalia Silva. So if Natalia Silva can recreate the Yan Jiaonan, she can hit the head kick counters that Yanni Jędrzejczyk was able to hit back at UFC 211, but more emphatically. Or the counterbalancing punches off the kicks. Like I told you guys, like none of these should surprise you. The front kicks, sneaky front kicks, by the way, going to be super live because Andrade ducks. That KO is going to be super live. You really like Natalia Silva? I think I see my guy Pepe Silva in the chat. I'm going to get there. I know he lives Natalia Silva. I don't know if he loves him betting on her, so I don't want to speak for Pepe. Go follow and support his stuff, by the way. But yeah, like if you're somebody who's a fan of her, like Pepe Silva, and you want to get involved, maybe look toward that knockout prop, right? However, it was the moments where not just the seeds that I kind of planted there, which are legitimate seeds, even though, Teresa Bleda, we haven't seen much from her since. Say what you will about Jasmine Jasudavicius, I think we can all agree that she's overperformed, and that hasn't aged. We don't have to say that it aged well, but it hasn't aged terribly, right? So again, I'm not trying to discount anybody she's faced, even though there is the glaring Leonardo, poor girl. But yeah, like she hasn't faced a consistent offensive threat, I think it's fair to say, right? She hasn't seen that yet. And she was almost really nervous about it in the Araujo fight. It was really worrying. DC even noted it. Now, she fought through it, as to DC, to his credit as well, predicted. But she was clear that she was like, kind of like when a tall person faces another tall person, like, fuck, I'm not the tall person anymore, right? She was like, whoa, oh fuck, I'm not the Brazilian punching athlete anymore. There's another Brazilian punchy athlete. And if there is a Brazilian punchy athlete who can get it done with knockouts with one punch to the body, to the head, 115, 125. I'm sure she's got knockouts at 135 too. It is Jessica Andrade. And even though I said that Natalia Silva is the harder puncher than Rodriguez, you still got to give credit to Jessica Andrade for having some weird performances where it looks like she's getting hurt, where it's like, what? Where'd she get hurt from? What? The one shot, what? It'll be usually abrupt out of nowhere. She was taking clean shots from Marina Rodriguez. She was taking Marina's best and giving back her best, which were the more better and impactful shots, which I'm guessing is what won her the swing round in round 2, right? Which I don't have a huge issue with, because optically, all we can do is speculate. Optically, it was ultimately, some really bad optics there by Rodriguez, no matter how you scored it, right? I think we can agree on that part. And she proved to have that. And Rodriguez, for as good as she is with the Muay Thai and knees and leg kicks, what did she shelve? And sure enough, and commentary came to this conclusion, as well as did I, that because whenever she did, Andrade essentially got takedowns each time. There wasn't very many, but... And Andrade has done this before. She's been able to counter kicks off of takedowns, which makes me wonder if Silva will shelve some of her leg kicks, but maybe she won't shelve some of her high kicks, because again, I think it's going to be very effective, could potentially very likely get her a knockout this Saturday, right? But how much does that make her shelve it? And, again, as we saw with Rodriguez, sometimes you would just go for the kick and then you stumble, because even though Andrade's pressure is not the best or has its holes or issues, like I said with breaking down a fight, I forget what was it, like Pavlovich and it was a heavyweight fight, that tall Maurice Green guy. I was just like, all you got to do is kind of just walk forward while someone's kicking at certain weights, especially, and people fall over, right? And we see that even at the lower weights. To Andrade's last fight. And that could easily happen with Silva with her gallopy, shuffly steps in the small cage, plus Andrade's pressure, the respect she has / should have, because win or lose, good or bad performances, Andrade throws out consistent offense that you can count on. I'm back in the Andrade camp. You mix in that with, albeit briefly, but again, how many fighters have as many takedown options as Andrade? Is she a reliable takedown? No, I wouldn't say that. But at the same time, whether it's killing people with the takedown, slamming them off the clinch, off kicks against the fence, we've seen her plenty of options and take plenty of initiative, even when it's like serving her poorly, like what was it, the Shevchenko fight, right? Where she just kept running into the clinch and then getting like head and arm tossed. And Silva does have some of those, but as, again, credit to commentary even noted in a lot of her fights, she's done it and it's kind of gotten her in trouble where, like, I forget what fight she did it, and she hip tossed somebody and then got reversed and ended up on bottom. I think it was Bleda. Yeah, it was Teresa Bleda, I think, in round 1. And I did not like the looks. Again, maybe she was still a blue belt as opposed to the purple belt she is now, but Andrade is a legit black belt, maybe even second degree at this point. I believe so. She's got the 2 stripes on there. She's been out at Vegas. Back to that page note about the camp drama, right? Since with the whole split, she's been training out in Vegas, where she initially wanted to train. Back when I did that in reference to that Henry Armstrong tweet, that influence was given to her by, shout out to my guy Angelo Reyes at UNLV Boxing, where I went and conducted the interview with her and that coach that was under the drama, Paraná. And he was like, yeah, I don't know if the coach is going to let her, train out here, but, like, it would be great for her. She got extreme and this and that. And now it all makes sense in hindsight, right, that she had a controlling coach and all this bullshit, right? And and it's funny, not funny, but, like, so now she's out here and she's, like, actually training, like, really good. She's training over, like, Mika. She's getting back in the gi. And she's always actually, to her credit, been one of the few UFC fighters, especially the black belt level, out there competing in gi and no gi still, like, regularly, right? So, again, there's a huge advantage there. And back to the team thing, you look at how she's training out here and this and that. 125, it doesn't really worry me so much. Andrade-Silva is more like she's kind of more like a strawweight, to be honest. And if this were a fight, it were at strawweight, she does just as much a chance of losing it. Andrade does, right? So I don't know if that really matters so much here. But as far as the camp and the drama people might point to and pile onto, as, again, MMA Gambling Twitter loves to do, like, what? Adversity? Oh, they must be soft. Like, no, adversity just happens to people. And sometimes, it doesn't affect the fight as much as you think it does. And or people are just stronger than you give them credit for. Right? So there's that. But if you really look at it, right, like, she goes through that epic losing streak last year. She went 2023. She went two out of 3, but she lost, like, 3 in a row or something, right? But you look, that's when, like, all that stuff's going down, right? And she still got wins in that time, and that was the talk, going into the fight with the Mackenzie Dern fight. And it was extra ironic because I'm like, Dern's been going through the same stuff and getting wins. Now, some of those wins, take a shot, some of those wins she didn't really get, but you know what I'm saying? Like, Dern was still winning through her divorce and issues and dramas and camp changes, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it gets really silly, right? At a certain point, we really just, as best we can, really got to base it off the evidence. I mean, we don't have to, and you're probably more successful if you've been doing that this year, especially, going against my ass. You've been successful, but yeah, you look at it, and not only is she on a 2-fight winning streak. Okay, look at she trains with a lot of girls, but I just want to bring up Carol Hossa because Carol Hossa is a girl that's a common thread from her old camp to this new group of girls that she works with now in Vegas. And Carol Hossa, shout out to the Heavy Hands guys and other analysts that I respect, notice this, where, like, what happened to her game, right? And not so coincidentally, around the same time this drama's going down, around the same time Andrade is going through this losing streak last year, Carol Hossa, even when she's winning, she's not covering her price as a favorite, right? And it's even causing the odd makers to us as pundits, like, what's going on? She's getting away from the bread and butter skill set of volume, pressure, and just, that bread and butter kickboxing that was serving her well. With the takedowns when they're there against the cage, she was really kind of all over the place. And recently, just like Andrade recently, Carol Hossa all of a sudden fighting better. So again, and not saying you have to pick or be confident in Andrade. I'm picking Andrade, spoiler alert. I'm not confident in it, spoiler alert. That also is still involved with one of 2 plays that I have on this. Classic Dan Tom confidence hedge. But the analysis and the numbers actually make it make sense, so why not? But yeah, I think anybody looking into that has to actually look into the evidence. If you look into the evidence, you could argue they're on an uptrend from that hiccup. Not just Andrade, but her and her whole group, which, back to these groups of other Brazilian groups like Fighting Nerds, small groups, momentum in MMA is really big, right? Momentum is really big. Now, Andrade-Silva has plenty of momentum too, and people are banking on that momentum, and you're going to make Andrade at plus 250. I can't turn it down. So I took a shot on Andrade 1 unit plus 250, but also going with the under plus 145, which is technically above what it opened at plus 143. So I grabbed that for a unit under 2.5 rounds because even though a decision wouldn't necessarily surprise me, and either girl winning a decision wouldn't surprise me, the odds pretty much have it like to where it's either going to be a finish, like inside the distance is plus 200 for Silva, her to win by the decision is plus 100. So they're slightly edging it for Silva by decision as the most likely outcome. It's like plus 600, which is real tempting for Andrade by decision, right? Why is it so high in a fight that it should be competitive, especially if it didn't open at 3-1, right? If it opened as a close fight, why is it plus 600? Because it makes sense, because even though Andrade could win a decision, it probably entails that she was able to control the fight a lot. And Andrade, even though she has a rear naked choke and she on her record in MMA, she's got him in jiu-jitsu, she's a competent jiu-jitsu artist, all those things. She's not like the backpack type of fighter, right? That'll like just backpack you and kind of kill the round, like or hold position. Like if this was, like again, if Natalya was at strawweight and she was fighting Verna, I probably would pick Verna a little more confidently than I'm picking Andrade, because Hanji Jobs is going to get to the takedowns, right? Hanji Jobs, she may not be a backpack, but she's definitely a lockdown control. She's a really good grappler, right? Whereas Andrade, like we saw even with the Rodriguez fight, where she's smart and she wants to grapple, just like with Lemos. She'll look for those opportunities to grapple. She's also not necessarily like selling out life or death, which is smart. Like you don't want to. That's how you get reversed. That's how you gas. That's how you make mistakes, right? You give up that's when you overcommit. That's when you give up the classic WMA armbar, right? All those things. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, especially because Andrade does damage, right? Even whether she's standing over, on top, riding, she's doing damage, which is great for judging criteria. And, just damaging your opponent if you're, for the fighter you bet on, right? So she does those things. And, sorry, what was I getting to on that? God damn it, don't get hit in the head, folks. Shoot. I'll tie this up, folks, and I'll get to you guys, and then I'll blow through the rest of the fights really fast, I promise. This is the main two fights. The odds as to why it is. Yes. So, she's not like a backpack person, right? So, and generally she's not, because she really does enough damage to get girls out of there, or girls are good enough to fight out, right? So, in other words, if Andrade wins, it's probably going to be inside the distance, right? If she's able to win a decision, that means, because again, Natalya Silva, not just potent shot selection, right? Dangerous to stand with, right? But pure numbers, from a pure numbers perspective, for all the numbers and stats bros out there who like to base the breakdowns off this, that's undeniable here. That's absolutely at play, because Natalya Silva is going to put out way more volume, right? So it's going to be hard to depend on Andrade to win a decision. Like, if she won a decision, it's probably going to be like some kind of split one where it's like she got out volume, but she had some really big emphatic moments, both with takedowns, maybe a near submission, some ground and pound here and there, a couple big shots on the feet. You got yourself a classic split decision. And my under fails. And if Natalya Silva, I double fail, right? Because I bet Andrade money line, and I bet, under 2.5 rounds. But again, in my mind, I feel like it's way too potent for Silva to get a knockout on the feet. And lest we not forget, that knockout's a two-way street when we're talking about Jessica fucking Andrade, right? So there's that too. She could counter one of her kicks, light her up like a Christmas tree, finish up on the ground, or just do it on the feet. And we never saw Silva react to this kind of, at least recently. She's been stopped both by submission and by strikes on the regional scene. But again, those were so early in her career. I'm not really holding those against her. But, if it bleeds, we can kill it. It can be done. We know this, right? Even if it didn't happen, we should know this. This is MMA, folks, right? Because we haven't seen her face the Andrade level. Obviously, Andrade is post-prime. I'm not denying that. But I don't think the bottom has fallen out. Again, she took Marina's best, gave it back to her, knew what she needed to do, still wasn't afraid to let go of strikes once she found her range. I think Andrade can win multiple ways. Submission, which is less likely because I do like not just the first layer of defense and second layer against the fence defense of Silva, but even when she has to get up, she's like real back to the fence. She's not giving her head forward too much for a guillotine, which I think is the submission to watch out for. But she's definitely not giving her back, right? She doesn't like to give her back, which is a good thing. So, but still, Andrade should get a submission. I think it's probably going to be by knockout is the most likely way either girl wins, which is, again, why I'm on the under. But I do think Andrade can win a decision as well. And if it goes to decision, obviously I'm going to be hoping for that because otherwise I don't take home anything. But so long as one or the other hits, Andrade gets a finish, then we rolling in it, right? We roll in, yeah. But what we don't want is Silva by decision, which is technically, again, by the way the odds makers priced it, is the more than likely outcome. Not by a big stretch, not by a sure stretch, nor is it ever, but according to how they lined it, right? I'm going against that. With my luck, it sounds bad, but with the analysis I laid, hopefully that makes sense. And again, you know me, it's heavyweight overs, which they've, shout out to Brad, Fatty's going to Fatty from the MMA analysis. The odds makers have picked up on that. You're not getting good odds on that anymore. But as we see, both in the UFC and Contender Series especially has been like this lately, right, folks? Really, really giving people like the big boy haters like myself, who is a big boy, not in a literal way, but, in an out-of-shape way, more hate, right? Because it's the lower class, it's the flyweights that are getting knockouts. So give me another flyweight knockout, the under there. All right, I'm going to get to the chat here, and then I will get to the rest of this for my voice's sake. Let's see here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, let's see. Ghost Phantom, I rewatched the Bilal-Brady fight. Bilal just slowly chewing up space and backing up Brady really troubled Brady. Do you think Burns can employ the same method of pressure instead of closing the distance quickly? Not as consistent as Bilal. Bilal's an excellent game planner. He had consistent jabs, looks, things that I don't expect Burns. Burns is more of a pot shot guy. He'll pot shot with leg kicks. He'll look for his left hooks and right hook counters, right? Again, these guys are kind of like a mirror. They like to counter, except, Burns will probably jab less, but probably feint a little more. But these aren't by huge margins either way. Like, both guys could use a lot more jabs and feints, right? But yeah, that could be something there. It's been checking jabs, by the way, and counter crosses that are Burns' common culprit. And again, Brady is hardwired to counter hook, and his jabs aren't checking. His jabs are more like salad dressing for the combo and the takedown. Right? That's when you see him jabbing. Like, just kind of throwing something out there. He's not doing the check jabs, which is like a huge kryptonite for Burns. No leg locks at all allowed for Brady versus Craig. What up, Fanyo? My guy Fanyo in the house. Yep, absolutely. Yep, you noted that too. Of course you would. You're smart, my man. You do the work. James Kendrick, I read Open Notes preview of Brady versus Burns. Do you think the important battle will be in the clinch? Absolutely it will be, because, I don't think Brady can submit Burns or will submit him. Never say never. But I think his path is definitely neutralizing along the cage. But again, you're going to be back foot against a guy who's deceptively good at defending that kind of stuff. We'll see. Yeah. Shout out to Open Note, by the way. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Jimmy Kudo, Brady being on the back foot, is that comparable to the style of Tyron Woodley? No, because Tyron Woodley was low volume. Brady actually keeps a decent work rate out there for what he's doing. But again, a lot of it is just a method to just waiting for you to make a mistake. And he finds his opportunities from there. Reese's and Truesdale, Burns had a good calf kick when he backed up Woodley. He would touch the hands and throw the low kick. Will he be more important here? Probably not, because even though Woodley was less apt to counter it, at least with takedowns, you don't want to give Brady his one sense of security. And whether he gets the takedown or not, that scramble and defensive work is going to make Burns work extra hard, and I'm sure he doesn't want to do that if he doesn't have to. Fenyo, born in the land of soggy dick, forged by it. That's right, we are, buddy. Oh my god. That's right. I forget your young face. You're deceptively out there. There we go. Speaking of The Soggy Dick special. I know Pepe Sylvia's a fan. Pepe Sylvia 716. Old Soggy Dick. No, not for me. I know. That's right. It's no, not for me. That's what the impression I did. That's right. I know you appreciate that, my man. Appreciate you. Synchro Wing, molded by it. Molded by. I was born by it. I can't do my impressions right now, but with my non-throat goat. Who got that nickname, the Throat Goat? And how do you get that nickname? That sounds like an awful nickname to earn, by the way. I do not want to ever earn that nickname. Sounds awful. No offense. Makato Goku. I did some film study on the ladies' co-main. Silva has a really bad ring craft because her whole thing is speed and controlling distance. Not complaining Andrade's game. Excellent notes, Makato Goku. Hopefully I touched on that with the both critique and how it can play against her, but also what Silva does well, to her credit, which is the lateral movement. But yeah, she is relying on that speed, and that can get you tripped up, like I said, literally. Pepe Silva sister died a couple months ago, so they're both going through a tough time. Absolutely, yeah. And as we saw with those, like, sometimes we either get like amazing performances, right? And I could totally see Natalia Silva, and she's very deserving of this moment if she gets it. Having an emotional post-fight, getting to have some catharsis that she was looking for, which is part of the reason why she took the fight, because she wanted to even, like, I think she wanted to fight in her interview. She said she wanted to fight even earlier than this to get this off of her mind. So my heart is absolutely with her. But as we saw, those things can go polar, right? And I see it actually more toward a positive, toward you Silva backers or fans. But, there is the Jake Shields side of it, right? Where, like, Jake Shields showed up to fight Jake Ellenberger right after his dad died and, like, fucking knocked the fuck out for the first time, right? Excuse me. Makato Goku. Andrade is not good at methodical pressure, but girls that don't jab at her or pivot, they don't do well against her. Yeah. The jabs have gotten better and the boxing in general has gotten better. But, yeah, the pivots and whatnot, and those intricacies, we haven't seen yet. Again, Silva's still getting better, still young, but great point there. Phantom Punch breakdowns. I reposted this, but Andrade did have a nice right hand to the body under the jab against Rose. She has done that since. You think she'll go to the body in this fight when she has Silva near the fence? I mean, going to the body is always good, but again, with her ducking, whether she's going to the body or not, I really worry for that motion because of the front kicks of Silva and how quick they are. She could really run into something, and she even does those she comes from traditional martial arts, so even though this is more of a karate thing than a taekwondo thing where she comes from, but she does that, what was that guy's name? I keep forgetting his name. He fought Katsunori Kakuno, fought Tony Ferguson. He has that moon kick or whatever, right? Whereas like it's like a weirder angle of the Giga kick essentially, but with the same effect. And his more kind of like I've seen actually, I think only on one occasion, but I've seen Silva do it where it's that power left kick, but it's almost coming more as a front kick at like an upward, a really it's hard to do typical 45 acute obtuse, but it was a really acute angle coming upward. So yeah, those motions are going to be real dangerous for Andrade, to be honest. Not to sound like old school MMA coaches, who dissuaded body work back in the day. They were like, oh, it ain't worth it. After what Jose Aldo did to Chris Mickle or whatever, he's like, oh, trade-off's not worth it. Heard even boxing coaches saying that, by the way. Body work ain't worth it MMA. This is way back in the day. I'm sure they've changed their mind. Rain Lamina, that's a long Ada. Ooh, that's another reason why I hate her fights. I can't bet them now, and I gotta fucking do that every time. Fenyo, my girlfriend can't understand a word you're saying, but she was cracking up at the long Ada show. Why are you making your girlfriend listen to this, Fenyo? Your poor girlfriend. Tell her I'm sorry. Forgive the chinito. And thank you to the Chilean army. A little inside joke there with me and Fenyo. I found out the Chilean army set free a bunch of Chinese Peruvians back in the day, and I'm like, I think I got to pay you extra this month, Fenyo, just for that. Reparations for what your ancestors did. And Fenyo said it was the only good thing the Chilean army ever did. Makoto Kaigoku, forgive my ignorance, but how does Andrade ducking open her up to a front kick? Won't she be open for a takedown if you front kick someone that's looking for the takedown? Yeah, and Andrade does have a decent, front kick defense. Even in her last fight, like she was, which perhaps dissuaded, to your point, Makoto, perhaps dissuaded Marina Rodriguez, because even when they didn't come, she had the hard wiring of the Muay Thai pass-through, right? Monkey paw, Muay Thai pass-through, giving you guys the visual as well as some verbal references. And that's excellent for counter-punching and takedowns, right? So, to your point, absolutely. However, Natalia Silva kicks so fast and crisp, and I could just see some, Anderson Silva, Vitor Belfort action right there. Ducking down into it, because you're changing your level into, into anything. Uppercuts, knees, front kicks. That's what that opens you up to traditionally. Pepe Silva. I passed on the Silva fight thus far. If she's covering a huge number, I'd rather play inside the distance, still mulling it. Yeah, I don't blame anybody playing Silva inside the distance or by knockout. It's kind of how I'd attack it. But you're getting plus money. You're probably getting just almost as good at plus money for inside the distance as the under at that point. Maybe you take the under and you get some Andrade coverage. Or you just get greedy, go for the knockout if you can get that at 3-1. That's just a good number for a straight-up bet, in my opinion. And I'm not betting it, so maybe my opinion actually might be worth something there. Ghost Phantom, what's the worst division Andrade winning? What's worse for the division, Andrade winning or Silva winning? Whatever makes 125 worse is what I will root for. Well, in that case, you should be rooting for me for Andrade, because honestly, I think it's better here. If, again, it's so storybook on so many ways. For Silva personally, for the division, for the promotion, and what they deem air quotes marketable. Sorry. So yeah, it's way better for the division for Silva to win here. But I'm picking Andrade because that's who I am. Muhammad, I'm Ard Bruce Lee. Good luck this weekend, Dan. I appreciate your avatar. I've got some brick top there from Snatch. Muhammad, I'm Ard Bruce Lee says, betting Jasmine to win versus Natalia was one of the funniest bad bets of my life. In fairness, Silva looked like a totally different person from her tape study prior. Exactly. I remember a bunch of people got caught speeding there. You weren't alone, buddy. You weren't alone. He adds, all I could do is laugh as Jasmine got absolutely dominated. Yeah, absolutely. Well, at least you got a good number on Jasmine after that fight, if you were able to capitalize on that, hopefully, if you didn't lose the faith, brah. All right, let's get through the rest of these rather quickly. Kyle the Monster Nelson, plus 154. Steve Garcia, minus 185. One of two fights that caught my eye where the short notice fighter is favored. Of course, Steve Garcia was looking to stay maybe not looking to stay active. He got the call while he was eating pizza on a week off, pretty much a week right after his fight. So, he was just being active in his defense. His coaches agreed with the contention that he takes a lot of time off, so that must mean he's really at the end of the Cowboy. Speaking of Jackson Wink, he even referenced himself a Cowboy Cerrone run, but we all know how the end of those Cowboy Cerrone runs tend to end it, with usually him losing. Steve Garcia can be hurt. Kyle Nelson, he can be hurt too. Most of them were from gassing out, but then Billy Quarantillo, round 3. I love it there. Was able to get Kyle Nelson, and again, that was also 145, though. In Kyle's defense, gassing and falling apart, he attributed it to mistakes he was making with the weight cut and the way he changed his preparation. And talk is cheap, but you know what? Kyle has backed it up with his results and even performances, whether you agree with the stoppage or not. I still don't like the stoppage, not just based on the fact that, and not that the refs need to pay attention to this, but Bill Algeo always gets hurt at the beginning of fights, but it was just a bad stoppage. He definitely was hurt, but that was a terrible stoppage. He was even like countering and checking like a couple exchanges just before that. But yeah, regardless of what you think, I don't know if people are like butthurt about that, right? Like you think I would be, but I'm actually leaning toward Kyle Nelson here. It's more of, does he finish Garcia, or does it go over? Because I was actually tempted to bet the over 1.5 at plus 150. Because what's stopping me is the short notice and the fact that Steve Garcia is a wild man. Like, I think Nelson's getting some recency bias for his fights kind of being action-packed as of late, and Garcia being a traditional do-or-die fighter. I think those two things made them just juice the fuck out of the unders. Like, oh, this is ending early, and I get it. I don't disagree with it. I get it. But, call it a contrarian take, but to back up I got a bad feeling about this, Sarge, which, if we're being honest, is most people's breakdowns out there. You know what I'm saying? I'll at least be honest with you when I'm doing that. I'll be honest with you when I didn't do the deep tape study. I did go back and watch at least these guys' last couple fights because Nelson, I was going to do a southpaw report on him, and spoiler alert, there's not much. There's just a couple silly... He's got one good moment against Bill Aljo, who switched stances, and the rest he does some silly shit against him and just some body kicks. He looks kind of confused, which kind of worries me. So even though he's the more prepared fighter, I think the southpaw part's going to throw him off. And I was listening for it in the interview just to read between the lines, and I could tell, he's not alluding to it, but it's definitely bothering him. Because I don't think there's a southpaw that trains there, right? Malat and, I know Jazz Divizius is a female, but all the people from his camp are all orthodox fighters and stuff, right? And he's never fought a notable southpaw that I can see on his record. So you got that for the guy that's air quotes more prepared, right? Which again, I made that mistake of over discounting the short notice fighter, and then the odds, opening or public movement were proven to be right. Now is surprise, surprise, proven to be wrong, right? So totally not discounting that off the table here. But when you look at it, the short notice guy, on the other hand, Garcia, he has, the fight with Choi, he was actually trying to go for, if you look at some of these fights that were firefights, he's actually trying to go for some takedowns in there, right? And although I imagine Kyle Nelson is just as hard, if not harder, to take down than Sung-Woo Choi, the point is Steve Garcia is willing to engage in a ground fight, and in his fights that he's lost and have gone long, especially the common thread there is when he's losing the ground fight. Either way, it's not like he's very good at deterring the ground fights. Even when following the action of the floor, which was super violent in his finish over what's it called? Who was doing well conversely before via grappling. But when he got on top of the ground and pound was brutal, right? Whether he's doing good, whether he's not, whether he's winning, whether he's losing, whether it makes sense, whether it doesn't, right? If the action's going to the ground, Garcia will go to the ground. And this is the small octagon where not just go to the ground, but more specifically, I could see these guys doing a lot of clinching. Because, I was giving that example earlier, thankfully, for Silva, Araujo just, drops off after the first round, and she was able to just kind of style. But that first round, she was super tentative because it's the Spider-Man pointing at each other, right? It's when you meet your first Spider-Man, your first parody, right? Oh no, another athlete. Oh, another tall fighter, right? And in this case, not only are these guys both tall and big for the division, so you have that, but they're also notable tough guys and punchers, and have that real brash attitude, right? And to where they almost rub their opponents wrong. You even hear as chipper as a guy like Chase Hooper is, you even hear Chase Hooper reference Steve Garcia. The reason why he wants that fight back. He hasn't really said it, but in one interview, in many interviews he'll say that. But then in one interview I heard him, and he didn't want to say the name, but you could tell who he was talking about. He goes, "Yeah, the guy was just an asshole, man. He just the way he comes off, you could tell it really bothered him." I'm like, "Oh, that is totally Steve Garcia energy. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Steve Garcia tooled him, right?" And Kyle Nelson kind of has that energy too, right? He wasn't afraid to chirp even back at the big the previous Noche crowd, where he's like, "Oh, you like that, huh? You like that?" He was talking the abusive dad that's not afraid to hit you. Oh damn, what era did you grow up? I'm just saying, hopefully you guys didn't, but I recognize that tone very well. And he's actually a new father, so I don't want to throw that out. He seems like a nice guy, by the way. But I'm just saying the tone that he said that was ooh, this sounds like the abusive dad. I don't want to fuck with this guy, right? You don't want to piss him off. He's got that edge to him is what I'm trying to say here. And I guess this was going to kind of happen too. This is more woo-woo, wishy-washy, not your typical analysis from me at least. More narrative nation kind of stuff, right? And I'm not making fun of that. Shout out to the Dogger Pass podcast. Those guys are awesome. I just steal that word and also want to give due credit to it. But yeah, this is definitely more narrative nation. And I spotted it ahead. I'm like, I bet you they're going to be super respectful to each other. And the way they're talking, like, oh yeah, and whenever they get brought up, it was like you could tell they're like, oh yeah, no, he's it's another guy that can act, he can hit hard like me, sure, yep. And I don't think either of these guys like that, man. They're both down for it. Don't get me wrong, right? We've seen them answer the call in swinging. Kyle Nelson has, obviously. Steve Garcia has. But yeah, if I do any play on this fight at all, it'll be something contrarian, like maybe the over. And then maybe I do like just to hedge it, because I could see like an early round 2. I could definitely see this getting at least in a round 2, and that's where it gets sketchy. Yeah, the 1.5. And then, I'm actually picking Kyle Nelson here. I'm going to pick the underdog. I'm not as confident to put a unit on him or anything, but I may put like Kyle Nelson, like by whatever I officially pick him. Like, let's say what I'm leaning toward is second round knockout, for example. Maybe I put that in the round robin. Either way, I put that in the round robin, but maybe I'm tempted to play the over, right? And then hopefully both are one cash or something, But this is a fight where don't be surprised on my quick picks if I put like Kyle Nelson by decision or something. Like, I get the weird vibes from this fight too. So beware, and if you do anything, make it small, fun, and contrarian. As you really, it's not terrible advice, especially the small and fun part. You don't have to be contrarian, of course. Next fight, let's try to keep in line with this so I don't have to confuse myself for timestamps. Trevor Peek is... Oh, sorry, I gotta jump because fucking Best Fight Odds sucks. Gotta stop saying their name. Minus 125, even though I think he opened as a... No, his was a pick'em, yep. Slight favorite. We're AssShmooz is plus 105. I haven't looked at this fight. Probably leaning toward Trevor Peek. If my analysis going back to watch the last couple fights, and it seems like as close as a fight that it's lined, I'm gonna go with the guy is gonna fight for your money in that small cage. And his hope his blockhead can hold up to his power. But yeah, check me on my Subtext. I already posted my fluid thoughts a little bit before this. Check that out for subscribers. I make like the top portion free, so you can see like my main event breakdown, and then like as it gets closer to fight day, I make more and more of it free. If you guys notice, so free subscribers. In other words, check back. You don't have to pay me. You can still see where I end up on some things. Chris Padilla and Zhu Rong. WrongShzu, which, by the way, everyone does the Zhu Rong joke. Shout out to John Anik again. He did the wrong. You got the wrong Zhu, man. It ain't me. Free Palestine. You got the wrong Zhu, man. He didn't say that. I had the other part. But yeah, I thought that was funny. I never heard that take. So, me, I've got an appreciation for, fucking with nicknames. And, by the way, shout out to the chatter. Was it Rio or who was it with the song? Song Wang. You're absolutely correct, by the way. Not that I doubted you guys, but, I do like myself the imagery of Kong Wang there. But, yes, odds, Dan. Odds. Get the fuck to it and get out of here. Zhu Rong minus 245. Chris Padilla plus 200. Yeah, I don't know where I end up on this one. This might be one where I may end up with Zhu Rong as a pick, but I wouldn't lay that chalk, man. This feels like a dog or pass card altogether, man. I was like, what the hell are you going to parlay? You're going to parlay Isaac Dalgarian minus 2,400. Brendan Marotte. Marotte looks like Garotte, and I think about fucking the Hitman command where you fucking strangle people. Easy, Dan. What the fuck's wrong with you? I just want to play Hitman. That's all I want to do, folks. I got to play my fix of killing Conor McGregor in the expansion pack in a different way today. I didn't do it, but I want to. Yeah, Dalgarian's going to be the pick there. Andre Lima. I wish this was on the main card so I could do more study into it, because I've had him pegged from the Contender Series against Felipe dos Santos, who isn't bad either, from if memory serves. And he actually opened as the favorite. Andre Lima actually opened as the dog, but money came in on Lima, which I get, but I like both these guys. Oh yeah, he got a split decision against Victor Altamirano after having a fun fight with Manel Kape on, I believe, somewhat short notice. I'll probably still pick Lima because of his countering ability. But I got to take a closer look on that one, and I probably will just have a watch and have fun. I wouldn't really want to be too exposed unless I see something that makes me do the Leo from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm like, oh, and of course I'll lay a little bit there. There's so many canceled fights, folks. Sorry, I gotta get through this. Is there someone named Yizha still? Is the Yizha still fighting? The Jizza and the Yizha? All right, the Yizha versus Gabriel Santos. I like Gabriel Santos. I imagine Gabriel Santos is the favorite, though. Yes, he is. Gabe Santos minus 250 versus the Yizha plus 200. Gabe Santos might be the only parlay piece now that I mention it. Now that I look at it, there's literally no one else that I see. Maybe Petrovski, but it's like you're just. I don't want to. We'll get to that Petrovski fight. I don't know if I want to touch that shit. I'll probably go with Gabe Santos there for sure. But again, I'm not looking to parlay. And I'll probably have more exposed than I want to, even though I am technically under my average per card. Again, responsible Dan Tom, not that fucking matters. I'll still technically lose by like a fucking $1 or some shit. But yeah, we got Vanessa-Demopoulos plus 250, Jacqueline Amorim minus 310. So there are no system plays in MMA, but I love that saying because there are some things that are close to a system play, even for someone like me who is very against that, because that would insinuate that it's not a volatile game and that stats mean something in this sport, and neither of those are true. Stats don't mean shit. It's a very volatile game. Of course they mean something, folks. I'm being hyperbolic, but needed, I would argue, to balance out the force, right? The Schwartz is strong with this one. But also, a more fine wine hipster play is Jailed Meersad by sub. But a more fucking ashy Larry, degenerate in the alley, rolling dice hipster play is betting them WMMA dogs, right? Especially one that fits, shout out, Fenyo, Vanessa-Demopoulos. She fits what we talked about. Remember what we said with the Michelle Watterson and what's it, the scorecard that you were talking about, Fenyo? And of course, our favorite, the Tabor Ricci, the ham booty burglar, right? As Fenyo beautifully editor photoshopped her. Vanessa-Demopoulos also comes from the art of ham booty burglary when it comes to scorecards, right? And again, Anna-Marie is a second degree black belt to her credit, I believe. So she technically has the on-paper edge to Vanessa-Demopoulos' first degree, but they both have a bunch of, different things. I think Anna-Marie's got some IBJF, she got some no-gi accomplishments, whereas like Demopoulos has a bunch of Pan Am, like a 7-time Pan Am champ. So you can argue about you could argue over the breadcrumbs there as far as which breadcrumbs are more impressive, and I'm not trying to denigrate those. Those are impressive. They or you or anybody should be proud of that, right? But I'm just saying I'm not like going nuts about it. K1 champion. Like, which is again same thing except for this kickboxing ABC alphabet soup titles, right? But yeah, so essentially you've got two girls who grappling's their strength. Demopoulos is arguably the better athlete, especially when you talk about not just looking the part. She's not just thick and strong like a Brady, right, for her division, but she's actually athletic. She's flexible from the pole dancing, right? And all that stuff translates well with the jiu-jitsu, so it's not a surprise that that's her game. So we could split hairs to who has a hairs of an edge. I'd argue we're going to get a close fight because it's lower level WMMA. It's the adage of, regardless of gender, you got two grapplers. We're going to get a low level striking fight, right? Like, this is split decision written all over it. And because I'm both not betting it and it's probably not even available to me, this is one you're probably safe on, unlike the Tabitha Ricci fight where they were giving splits all night, and then of course the fight that I break down to be a split because it has split written all over it plays out as what should be a split does not get a split. And fuck you again, come at me, fuck you, and what do you mean it should have been a split? Because yeah, it should have been a split. I said it. Come at me, motherfuckers, right here, bitches. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying. You know what the fuck everybody else is saying. There's a billion things in the fish in the sea. You can go QT your ass off to make yourself fucking feel better and smart, okay? Should have been a split decision. Fuck you guys. Stop fucking shitting on that saying. And that's a perfect example. Ricci and fucking Angela Hill. Perfect example. Should have been a split decision. Anyways, so system play. It's going to be a close fight. You should probably bet the split. But for me, Demopoulos has been good to me. I've even just thrown her in round robins, which I probably should have done here. But then I saw it got to plus, what did it open as? Maybe, no, it opened at higher. So plus 250 was high enough, more than high enough for me. Plus 3-1 was stupid criminal. Again, I don't expect to win this fight, but like, I essentially just need, oh shit, did I skip over the, guys, did I skip over SCHNELL-DURDEN? Hit me up in the chat if I skipped over that. Because, yeah, spoiler alert, I basically played 4 dogs. Demopoulos is one of them. I did these last 2 kind of last minute here, right before the show. So they're not in my fluid thoughts. I'm going to go add them in, and then I'll add them in my action. In all the places where I can recap my losing. But yeah, I basically, because I never plan, even when I plan to win, which is every week, believe it or not. I know, crazy. I'm actually realistic about this shit. I know, crazy. Like, I only plan to, I want to be able to hit anywhere from, I mean, if it's structured this way, and it has before, where I've only had to hit like a quarter of my plays to pay out, but that's not always the case. And if that's the case, you're probably depending on some high odds, which aren't a probability hit, right? Even me, who loves those things, can admit that. So essentially, yeah, I try to aim to hit anywhere from design my plays so where all I have to hit is a third to a half of my plays to profit, right? We don't got to get over half. We don't got to get 75%. We ain't even considering a fucking actual sweep at this point. But yeah, I just need 2 out of the 4 dog plays. Matt Schnell fight is off, Dan. It's off? Wow. Did that just get canceled? And I just like, it went into my head subconsciously and I skipped it? Or is it because my memory's been betraying me and I've been like fucking up everything lately, guys? It's fucking scary. Again, back to the maybe I have long COVID. Don't know. I gotta get tested again or something. But yeah, did that just get called off, guys? And then also answer me. Did I skip it? Did I skip it before I get out of here? But yeah, system play Vanessa Demopoulos, Andrade-Petrovski. While you guys answer that, Andrade-Petrovski minus 258. Dylan Budka, one of the worst signings. No offense to Budka, off Contender Series, plus 210. But is Budka's grappling and cage pressure enough to make this an ugly fight? Especially if Petrovski maybe respects Budka's grappling more than he should and figures this is a fight to work his striking. However, with Petrovski having a hard-on for Bo Nickel, I think he's going to want to make a statement and out-wrestle and out-grapple him because he's like, well, if I can't out-wrestle and out-grapple Budka, what the fuck do I have business calling out Bo Nickel, which is true, by the way. So he's probably going to do that, but I'm guessing Petrovski by sub, which would be like the only thing I would play in a round robin, isn't even going to be that sexy, is it? What is Petrovski by sub? Don't bark, guys. I know you hear the barking. Oh, plus 360, plus 400? Maybe I'll put Petrovski by sub in a round robin if I need a 4th leg, or since that's high enough, depending what else I have, throw a 5th, because I'm probably going to throw Burns KO. I don't know if I'll throw Andrade by something, because I'm already exposed and weirded out by that fight. I feel like if anything, I should throw like Silva or Andrade by decision, or if I have access to the split in that fight, which they usually don't give me access to that fight, fight ends in split decision there for that one possibly, or maybe in one house. We'll see what my final round robin looks like. I'll probably do, spoiler alert, it isn't off. Oh, Schnell is fighting Durden now. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, and then I didn't break that down yet, right, guys? Did I accidentally skip that? Because I don't remember breaking that down. Because it's about to parlay into my talking point here. As I might go Schnell sub, spoiler alert. And then, if I'm desperate, maybe Petrovski sub or something. Maybe, since I'm already on Demopoulos, no need to put her in the round robin. I don't need any more exposure on that, obviously. That's already arguably too much. Then we got whatever the fuck Nathan Fletcher minus 130 versus Ziggy Montas Ramaska. Ziggy Montas Ramaska. Yeah. Sorry, that sounds like a Phantom Mukentuken character. Phantom Mukentuken. Death to the infidels. Plus 110. Yeah, I have no opinion on that fight, and I probably won't, folks. So, yeah, whatever you see for my official pick, don't worry. But yeah, I think I apologize. Okay, so Durden versus Schnell. We'll start that now for my timestamps in the future because I don't know if I broke that down. I probably rushed off. So Durden, he opened at is minus 298, and he opened at minus 305. Matt Schnell, so this one's pretty much stayed plus 240. I don't get this. This is another fight where, again, the fighter who took this fight on short notice is being favored, and even if Durden was in shape, the cut is rough. Tell me at least they're doing it at 135. This won't change my pick, by the way, but there's no way they're making him cut to 125, are they? Fuck, they are. And so Durden just got TKO'd in July, like a month and a half ago. Okay? I know Matt Schnell is like an older, and he's not 35 for what it's worth, but he's 34 with a bunch of knockout losses. Huge flag, durability. He can lose at any moment. Flag, flag, flag. Get it. But that's not Durden. Durden's got improved striking, but his leg kicks are probably like his most powerful strike. Would it be the craziest thing in the world? Like, no. Like, if Matt Schnell got knocked out again, like, no. But that's not usually his bag. And even you look at like other fighters, like he's survived guys like Tyson Nam, Bontarine, other big punchers in the division, heavy-handed dudes who are heavier-handed than Durden. And he survived win or lose or draw, right? Right, if we're going to throw in the examples of him losing, let's throw in all the examples. And he checks all those boxes, Matt Schnell does as well. Matt Schnell's got a good jab, a long jab, which has been able to hit Durden and give him problems. It actually, not only was it TKO'd, he had a really bad cut like 6 weeks ago. He was just getting a cut here because he was eating step-in jabs, which has been a common culprit if memory serves. I didn't go through super tight, obviously. I just kind of looked at some of these last fights of what I'm citing here, folks. I'm being honest with you. But I looked through enough to say the number doesn't make sense. And even the kryptonite, on the kryptonite scale, right? What's the stylistic kryptonite? Again, I'm talking about the knockout. Durden doesn't have that. But what is Durden's kryptonite? Opportunistic submissions. Well, the underdog has that. The guy who is training for the night has that. The guy who comes through as an underdog in these kind of spots has that. The guy who, yes, can get knocked out, will fight for your money and has proven that in the Sumudaerji fight. Another fight, there's a win. I just need a win, a loss, a draw. All relevant fights, too, for the most part as well, that he survived big hitters, win, lose, or draw. Man, I liked Alessandro Costa. I thought that was a bad matchup for him. And would have been curious if the Alessandro Costa knockout prop. I like Alessandro Costa. But in this fight, no, give me Matt Schnell. And I saw it at plus 265. I couldn't say no. He's at like plus 240 pretty much everywhere else. And so again, I mean, plus 240 is still CLV in my opinion because, again, I would have leaned, like the other fights where I'm like, okay, I understand, maybe not as wide, but I understand they're the favorite. I'm being fair. I'm giving point. Like, no, this fight, like, no, I think I do think they got it wrong. I think they got it wrong. So, 1 unit on Matt Schnell, plus 265. All right, I'm going to recap the chat, and then we'll get the hell out of here. It went longer than I wanted to. I bet we're at like a fucking hour and a half, aren't we? Of course, 133. Scotty P. Maybe that's a good omen. We could use that. Kyle Nelson is about that dick life. Out of context, that could sound really funny, couldn't it, Fenyo? Especially with my perverted ass, which you will get a phrasing, Dan. Phrasing. Don't scare Fenyo and people away from the show. Not literal taste, but, we will be reunited. Not in that way. You guys know what I mean. Let's see here. Mikato Kaigoku. I always remember Steve Garcia getting absolutely chinned by Mahashate with a southpaw open side counter at UFC 275. Oh yeah, that was a brutal one. By the way, I wrote I wrote Cream Machine, Steve Cream Machine Garcia. Go look at his Tapology photo, especially. It looks like the Cream Machine. It looks like that He-Man re-edit where they're doing that. And I said, hey, and it just shows him, makes it look like he's coming with Skeletor. Like, that's what it looks like Steve Cream Machine Garcia is doing. Shout out to Creamy Steve of the Co-Main Event podcast. I gotta maybe write in and see if he's a fan of Cream Machine Steve Garcia. Synchro Wing, Trevor Peak, Hammer Fist of Thor. Absolutely, very powerful. Ghost Phantom, TB joke here. WrongShzu, or is it RightShzu? I can't wait to go listen to their podcast later, Ghost. I'm going to go check that out. Muhammad Imard Bruce Lee, or Zhu's song, Don't Make a Right. Okay, that's a good one. Seen them all. That's right. Zhu wrongs. Rain Lamina, Vanessa-Demopoulos by split decision, baby. She's supposed to lose all her decisions, but she ends up winning. Won 129 every time I bet on her. You know, she's a part of some of the round robins that have actually cashed, which would be nice. Again, just God forbid Dan Tom got something, which it doesn't matter at this point. I'm already dead. I'm just rooting for you guys and my friends at this point. Rain Lamina, my system is all PFL favorites and all WMMA fights to go to decisions. But more importantly, Vanessa-Demopoulos to go to split decision that she doesn't deserve. Those aren't bad system bets, Rain Lamina. Those aren't bad, sir. Fenya-Demopoulos is such an ass burglar. Yeah, she's there. That's the term for stealing the decisions with your ass. You know, the ass. She's an ass burglar. That's great. Oh my gosh, Jankway, ass burglars. We're crewing on Benya. Goku, Matt Schnell fight is okay. That's right. We got canceled. No, we got that. SCHNELL-DURDEN still on. SCHNELL-DURDEN fighting. Thank you guys. It's at 135, 100%. Yeah, it should be. I imagine. That's right. Yeah, it says 125 on Tapology, but Tapology's been wrong lately because again, guys. Everywhere's been wrong. Best fight odds off. Tapology's off. Why have they been getting odds out late? Why have the odds been off? Why are we, air quotes, past COVID, but, like, fights keep falling apart? Guys, it's all the same answer. The snake is eating its own tail. It's not just me and my bad luck and my complaining ass and burnt outness. Yeah, that is part of it. But, no, but it's beyond me. Obviously, folks, the world does not revolve around me or my opinions. As we can see, this affects everybody. It affects everybody. I'm real curious what they're going to have next week for the Sphere. But thank you guys for being with me. Hit the like button, and I'm going to recap, pick some plays when we get out of here. Taking the Gilbert Burns over Sean Philly from Brady. He's strong. He's tattooed. He's skilled. And worst of all, he's from Philly. Taking Para Estash, and I probably brutalized that name, Andrade over Natalia Silva. Taking Kyle the Monster, even though he's Canadian, Nelson over Steve Cream Machine. He's the Cream Machine. Oh, that face. Look at the Tapology face of Steve Garcia face. Tell me, is he not coming? I'm coming! Like Arnold, right? Come on. Taking Danger. Matt Schnell over Cody Durden. Leaning toward Trevor Peak over AssShmooz. I'll probably take the WrongShzu over Chris Padilla, you know. I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. Surprise, surprise, I'll take Isaac Dalgarian over the guy named after the choking move, Garote, in Hitman. Probably taking Andre Lima versus Lima-dos Santos. Definitely taking Gabriel Santos over the Yizza, the Jizza, the Wizza Izza. System play, the Demopoulos all day over Jacqueline Amorim. I wonder if she'll have one of my coaches in her corner. Shout out to Bryce Harley. Vanessa, that is. So I guess there's some bias there or whatever. Andrade-Petrovski taking Mr. Petrovski. Don't cut me with your sickle. Over Dylan the ass butt Budka. He's probably a really nice guy, by the way. Dylan Budka. And whatever. I guess I'll take Ziggy Montes with a mask over Nathan Fletcher. Plays Burns plus 165 1 unit. Andrade plus 250 1 unit. Schnell plus 265 1 unit. Demopoulos plus 250 1 unit. So we basically just need two of these to profit. And then we got Andrade-Silva. That could only hedge on any of those plays, somewhat of a potential hedge or potential bonus. Who knows? God forbid we could use one of those, right? We got the Andrade-Silva under 2.5 rounds plus 145 for 1 unit. So that's 5 units for those of you keeping track at home. And that'll be 6 units which is still under my average 7 unit, which is like, my entire bankroll and the average MMA gambler Twitter straight play on a WMMA prelim, I'm sure. But you know the drill. And as far as, again, for the round robin, I'll tell you what I'm looking at. Possibly Petrovski by submission. Want to avoid pretty much every other prelim fight besides that, especially since I'm already on Demopoulos straight up. Schnell sub looks interesting. Maybe I get cute with like a Nelson round 2. Or maybe that's where I put the over if I do a 4-legger, because a plus 150 is not sexy. But no, because that's a lot of risk and it's not sexy. So fuck that. That won't be in the round robin. Probably won't even play it now the more that I mentioned it. But yeah, maybe I'll put like a Nelson round 2 or something. Not sure what I'll put for the Andrade-Silva, because I probably should be hedging for like a split decision type of deal if that's available to me, which it's probably not. And then I could probably do a 5-legger if all those things were available to me, because they're all big enough plus numbers, even though not huge numbers. Burns by KO. Before I go, what is Kyle Nelson round 2? Let's just look that up while I'm here. Just real quick. Just stay with me. It's okay. Wow, that's actually a pretty nice number. Plus fucking like 700 is the lowest. All the way up to plus 900. Yeah, maybe I will throw that in the round robin. All right, thank you guys. Hit the like button. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Join me and Fenyo for on my Substack at Downtown MMA for the members. Members only, motherfuckers. At Dan Tom MMA, the Dan Clan. Love seeing you guys there. Love seeing the avatars change over the months now. This is actually pretty cool. Thank you guys for your support at Dan Tom MMA on all places. Not that I deserve it. Twitter, Substack, YouTube, as well as Instagram if you want to follow me over there. Good luck on your picks and plays, and always protect your neck.